Well, hello and welcome to our Q&A today. Go ahead and get started. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with Lisa Davis. She was worried, it says, I'm so worried about the chickens. Will they let her get the water and food? Especially
about that chicken.
Yeah, that one chicken, you know, the new one that we got from the neighbor. Especially the water, it's so hot right now. And yes, they are finally letting her walk around.
You've got about 4 different water things to get.
Yeah, we got plenty. I put water outside and inside the pen,
but outside you have about 4 of them right in a row.
Yes, so that the ones outside can have water and the ones inside can have water because it is very hot. But they're letting her walk around now. They're when we throw food out to her, she's the last to get the food. But that's nice of you to worry about her. But I did put out 4 extra buckets of water. Okay, what are the ages of Jimmy Joe's children now? And Lisa can remember when the 2 oldest ones were babies. That's awesome. They are 2, 4, 6, and 8 every 2 years. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, Levon Alverson.
Yeah, do you go to the temple weekly? I know you go to the ward weekly.
Do you go to the temple weekly?
Yeah.
And have a happy Labor Day weekend. God bless. Thank you. Yeah, we go to the temple about once a month is our goal. It's a little harder getting to the temple. See, church is reserved Sundays for church.
Well,
but for the temple,
it's only a block away, too.
Yeah, and the temple's a little harder because you have to plan it and actually go
at a certain time.
At a certain time, and it's hard to catch people because during the week you have work and you're busy and you do other things. So it's a bit more of a challenge to go to the temple, but that's a really good question. Okay, Mr. B. MommaO, the state of Utah pays to have the fix. He's talking about the kitties. Or is it a local group that does? Yes, I don't know if the whole state pays for them.
It belongs to the city. It's a city.
Yeah, so it's a city thing, and I didn't know about it till I was out doing my jogging one day, and the animal control lady was out there, and she stopped me, and she said, do you know who feeds the kitties at this house? And I go, yes, and I told the lady's name, and then she asked if I had any kitties that I was feeding, and I said, yes, stray cats. And she says, you know, you can catch them and bring them in. And I said, oh, I can't afford that. And she goes, well, we'll do it for free. I go, oh, okay. So they do that for free, so it's really nice. Okay, why don't you read the next one? Daniel
Lefko in Australia.
He wants to know if we got the stray cat. Yeah, no, not the hard to catch one. We caught 2 other stray cats, so I put the trap out and we're catching them. So, okay, Cindy Brinkerhoff, great job getting those cats fixed. With your sisters, what is the oldest to the youngest? Okay, she wants to know when do we go to Sisters Day? Alisa is the youngest, and then Judy and Jane are the twins. Oh, Connie. So if Sherry was there, she would be the oldest. Then my sister Kathy in Idaho, and then me, and then the twins, Judy and Jane, and then Connie, and then Alisa is the youngest. And there's a year in between each of us, which isn't much space. Okay. Sandy Leonard. Oh, she said, I was watching April and Davey's video today, and they were reading scriptures. Which book do they use? And they each have their own scriptures. They just read out of the Book of Mormon. And so that's, and when they read out of the Bible, then it's the King James Version. So, oh, good question. Okay, Ancestral Bliss. Why don't you read that one?
How beautiful to be able to show your dad's great-grandchildren where he grew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was showing Julianne's kids, Kyle and Taylor, where my dad grew up, which would be their great-granddad. And she is also asking, wouldn't that be fun if they could save that house? Because I mentioned in there, I was surprised that...
It's a couple hundred years old, isn't it?
Well, it was a chicken coop, and then they made it into a house. I don't know how old it is, but the roof is caving in, and that would be fun if they would save it, because I had mentioned I'm surprised it's still up. And Carol, my aunt that lives there, she doesn't like anybody to go in there because it's kind of falling. Yeah, it's dangerous. So I don't know why they haven't tore it down yet. It would be nice if we could save that. She says, Ancestral Bliss says it is a testament of how our ancestors lived back then. It's true, and it would be nice if they would save it.
But it didn't look that bad when they were there.
No, it wasn't that bad of a house. So I don't know if they'll save it or not. Okay, and not this week, but next week, it will be our anniversary. We'll be married 45 years. And so we're going to break this into two pieces. A little bit today, and then a little bit next week. We'll be married 45 years. So this week, we're going to say how we met. Try and shorten it a little bit. And then next week we'll tell about our wedding and our engagement. Our engagement and our wedding. So first of all, we'll say how we met. Well, we met at a dance, but we got to say how we each got to the dance. So I'll say mine first because mine's shorter. And Papa O's is a little bit longer because we had to get him home from Europe. And as many of you know, there's 16 years difference. I was 18 and Joe was 34. And many people wonder, well, how did that happen? So we're going to tell you. And first, I'm just this girl on a farm, this 15 with 13 kids, and just being raised on the farm. And my sister-in-law's sisters, does that make sense, invited me to go to these dances in Salt Lake. And it cost $1 to go to these church dances.
And you had to have a card from your bishop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to have a card from the bishop. So I got my little dance card saying I could go up to these dances up in Salt Lake. And I would ride with my sister-in-law's sisters that were single. That's a lot of S's. And so my dad, I would give him my check from my sewing at the sewing plant, and I would save my $1 out each week to go up to this dance.
One of the things that impressed me about Roseanne is she told me she gave her dad her check, and I thought, that was so sweet.
So I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and Roseanne's answer to that was, I didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice. But he says, well, I provide the car for you to get to work. And I provide everything else. So we all pull together.
Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah, that's true. So I would save that $1 out of the check to go to the dance. And I had been going probably about 5 months to these weekly dances. Okay, I'll stop my story there. And then let's see how we get Papa O home from Europe.
I actually wanted to live over there the rest of my life. I took suitcases with me.
Well, he was looking for a girl to get married in the temple, so he goes over to Europe.
I had left my suitcases at an LDS church over there. Christmas time came. No, it's a mission president. Anyway, Mormon, and he thought he'd have a get together with all of the LDS Americans that turn up. There were a few Americans that attended besides French people. And I went there, and I saw a couple, and they looked so clean cut, and you could see the gospel in their eyes. That is, the goodness. They almost had halos over their head, and they were in love. And I thought, that's what I want to have. And I think I'm going to go back to the United States and have one more look around for a good
try one more time.
Girl. Yeah. But I ended up having to barely make it home. Let's say I had about $60 and to fly home and get from New York to Salt Lake City, it cost quite a bit more than $60.
And this was like 2 weeks before Christmas when you decided to come home?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually Christmas week before Christmas.
So you saw this charter place, you gave her part of the money, and then how'd you get the rest of the money?
No, okay, well, I call them the 10 angels that helped me get home. And one of the angels was, I was going to go to downtown Paris, where the huge travel agencies were and everything, and I had to walk because I couldn't afford to ride the subway or bus or anything, and so a little teeny place, a kind of an ugly looking place with big posters on the windows of traveling that looked like, are they even open? And at first she said, oh no, that's been filled up for a long time, completely booked up. And I started to walk out and she says, wait, I have one seat left and it's one way. And
that's what I want.
And I said, that's exactly the thing that I want.
So you put some money
I
down?
happened to have about $50 of my $60. That was going to be part of my next month's to stay in the little room that I was staying in. And I gave it to her and I said, can I have it by Friday? Is Friday okay? And this is probably in Monday or Tuesday. She says, yeah, but I'll need it by Friday. And
the rest of the money?
Yeah, so I immediately went home and had some really big sales on.
Well, your sister Amy sent you some money for the car that she was buying from you.
I went out, when I got home, I went down to the P.O. box and there was a $30 check there for my sister because I'd given her an older car.
Well, and then you sold some clothes in the subway and got the rest of the money. Okay, and then he goes to get his ticket.
Well, no, it's against the law to sell stuff open. And there's a little French boy that would watch for all the people selling stuff in the subway because he'd run through and tell them the police were coming.
You'd open up your suitcase. And, okay. And so you did that, and the little boy warned you.
He said, les flics. There's cops. The cops are coming.
Okay, so then you have the money to buy the ticket.
Yeah, and so...
and then you get across the ocean. You landed in New York what day? Christmas Eve?
Christmas morning.
Oh, Christmas morning. Okay.
Well, then I had to get out of New York City because...
And you had how much money?
See, I wanted to get on Interstate 80, which goes from New York clear to the west.
So he's trying to get to Utah.
So I paid about $25 just to get out of New York City. Okay, and so I got out of New York City, and by this time it was afternoon of Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas. And I got 3 quick rides, and I got as far as Cleveland, Ohio, which is maybe a third of the way across the United States. And evening was coming on, and a student was giving me a ride, and he got off at Cleveland, and so we were getting off, and I said, I need you just to let me off right here so I'm going to hitchhike through the night. I just figured there would be a lot of people traveling and maybe I'd get a ride. He says, no, nobody is going to be traveling Christmas Eve. And he says, why don't you come to my house? So I stayed the night at his house. And the next morning I found out that his sister, the student's sister, was going out to Denver, Colorado with her boyfriend. And said, in 3 days we're going to drive out there to Colorado, Vail, Colorado. And if you want to wait around here a couple of days. And all of a sudden that sounded good because all of a sudden I just thought of hitchhiking in the cold and it did not sound fun. So I got my ride out there, and he said, but we don't, there's several of us going in the car, we don't have room for your suitcase and all that, backpack and everything. So he says, why don't you take it to the bus station and we'll just ship it there. And so that's what I did. And so I'm down to about $20 or $30. And then we get to Vail, Colorado, and he said to me, so which way are you going into Salt Lake City? And I said, well, I'm going to go north into Wyoming and then hitchhike that way. And this guy was kind of a hippie type guy, and he said, he said, you should just go straight into like Vernal, Utah, in the middle. And I said, no, I'm going up. He's up through Wyoming. He said, I've known more than one person hitchhiking in the wintertime and getting stuck in Wyoming because in the middle of the winter, it's mostly, there are not many cities in Wyoming. Just in the, well, anyway, there's not many cities. And so I says, no, that's the way I'm going. He says, go down to Greyhound, see how much the ticket to Salt Lake is. And this guy, you know, I don't even know him. I've only known him for, one day. And so he said, go down to Greyhound, see what a ticket to Salt Lake is. And it was something like $25, which might be equivalent to today is $70 or $80. And so I went down, told him, and he gave me the money. He says, go get your ticket. So he paid my ticket home to Salt Lake.
So from the time you decided to come home to when you got home was how long?
Maybe a week and a half.
A week and a half.
Yeah.
And you landed in Salt Lake City with how much money?
I think I had 7 cents.
7 cents. Called your dad, come get me.
And I just thought, I was so glad to be home.
So that's how we got Joe home from...
But that same month, the following, one of the Thursdays, in January, maybe it was...
March. In my memory, it was March.
Yeah, a couple of months later, I went to the Mormon dance, and then I saw Roseanne walking by.
I'd been going for about 5 months, I think, to the dances, and yeah, I walked by and Joe asked me to dance.
We danced at the dance. I mentioned that I knew French and everything, and she says, say my name in French. And so I just put an accent of Roseanne. And you go,
Roseanne, Roseanne, it was Bueller, Roseanne Bueller.
Oh yeah. But she went, oh, that sounds so cool in French.
Yeah.
It wasn't in French, just a French
Then
accent.
Joe asked, then you had to go to work, and then the next week you weren't there. I don't know where you were. And then the week after that, you were there. And then you asked me out on a date, and I thought you were making fun of me because we'd only danced twice, and I had never been asked on a date before. But he asked me out on a date this was Thursday, and he asked me out for Saturday, and I said, okay. And he goes, well, where do you live? He had to go to work, and I said, well, I thought he was making fun of me, and I thought, well, two could play at this game. My dad, I don't, he goes, what's your address? I said, I don't have an address. And he goes,
she had a RFD, a route number.
I did have an address, but I told him I didn't have one.
But you can't find a house by a route number.
Yeah, and so he just hurried and wrote down my phone number, and I said, well, my dad's name is Fred Bueller. I live by a church, and I live in Highland. And then he had to go to work.
And that was about 10 or 15 miles away. So
yeah, so he does. I remember telling my mom, said I might have a date. She goes, you might? And I go, yeah, I might if he can find me. Says if he shows up. If he shows up, I'll be very impressed, because that means he really did want to go on a date. But then you. It takes you a bit of, you get off the Alpine exit and you head toward Highland, because you said it's a highland, and then you ask 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 people. You finally get the directions to get past. Everybody knew Fred Bueller. They get in an
argument where the exact street to get on.
And then you drive past my house and you flag down, which happens to be my aunt that lived next door. You said, do you know where Fred Bueller lives? And she showed him where he lived. And that's how Joe
she kind of
smiled and pointed, and her name was Ruby, the same as my mom's name. And then Joe shows up for the first dances. So we'll end the story there and continue it on next week. Choose your love, then love your choice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and keep those questions coming, and we will see you next week to finish the story. And thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night.